You're watching Live Your Best Life with Leah Guy, and today we have the Amazing Kreskin, who's been around for a very long time.
A very, very long time.
I want to know, before we get started, what
Sure.
your preferred title? Magician, mentalist. I know you say you're not a psychic, you're not a predictor, but what do you call yourself?
I use the term mentalist because I deal with people's thinking. Best way to explain it, I'm sitting with an audience, and sometimes my audience is like Riviera, a couple hundred, or Minnesota State Fair is 100,000 outdoors, or 10,000, what have you. And I said, someone's thinking of these two names. And then the man stood up and, who are the people? No, they're my pets. I said, didn't you say to your wife, I wonder if Kreskin could tell me my Army number? And he slammed his fist down. He said, God damn it, that was at the other hotel 2 hours ago while we were eating.
Oh my.
If he didn't know it, I could not look into a crystal ball. But I gave him the exact serial number of his Army number, and he was in World War II.
So when a person has a thought, you can tune into the thought.
If they concentrate.
If they concentrate.
If they don't concentrate, I can't, and they must narrow their thinking down to that. And even in Japan, that's the whole story. Carson had me do a whole segment. He says, how could you work with an audience and guests that didn't speak English? But I found a way of doing it through visual imagery and what have you.
Speaking of Carson, this man has been on Carson
88 times.
88 times. 88 times.
Although if you go on the internet, 61. Carson never forgave.
Yeah.
He never forgave NBC. People didn't know better in those days, and they erased all of the first 2 years of his shows.
That's upsetting. Well, you may have also seen Kreskin most recently on Jimmy Fallon. You've been on that show.
He's been very good, and television's been very good to me. I have a picture, it's a famous picture now. I'm touching someone on the head. The bottom of the picture has to say, Kreskin says he's not getting that much. They love it. They say, I want that picture. I said, I don't want to offend you. No, we want that. We got to laugh at ourselves.
That's funny. That's funny.
You are a joy to talk to.
Oh, you are too. Tell us how you got started or knew that you had this gift.
When Jane Hamilton was sent out of the classroom in 3rd grade, the teacher said, it's raining outside, I'll teach you folks to play a game. And we hit a beanbag in one of the desks, and then Jane was called back in. And she said, Jane, we walk around. When you get near the beanbag, we'll see you're getting warm. When you're not near, it's cold. The game of hot and cold, a children's game.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to play. So when I went home, I took my brother to my grandparents' house and said, hide a penny upstairs. And he hid it upstairs. My grandparents did not speak English. They were from Sicily. And when he called me, I walked upstairs. And it's a dramatic scene to describe what the bottom line is. I ended up in my uncle's bedroom, reaching behind a curtain rod, and felt the penny. And I forgot to tell my brother to talk to me, so he never said anything to me. And what came out of that is one of the most important additions to my entire career. It became a major factor, which has been written about all over the world. And it started with that incident there.
So that incident, do you remember, though, feeling a particular pull or draw or information? You just went.
I wasn't thinking. I was kind of detached from things. But in all my shows now, I hand my check to the audience and I leave the theater, and they hide my check anywhere in the theater. If I don't find it, I don't get paid.
Did you study? You said but you studied psychology later, but then
I got a degree in Seton Hall, but it took me eight years. I was a very slow learner. Actually, I was only allowed to take a certain number of courses each semester at Seton Hall because I was most of the time traveling.
So Kreskin is still performing.
Yeah. I announced my retirement, though, last November. I announced I'm retiring 10 days after I pass away.
Well, we have a while then, so that's good.
Definitely. I got to warn you, you got a while then.
So I'll give you a little tour. I had a healing center for a while, and then I merged my media world and my healing world together, and then I developed a product line. And this
These
is
are products of yours?
Yes. Chakra oils. I work a lot with, the energies and the chakra centers. That's why I'm so interested. I'm fascinated by you and your work from my perspective,
but
my work too.
Yes.
It's not the same, but
it's still.
It's in the line
we're hitting the same people, but in different ways.
Yes.
So Leah, what is this? Why do you have these?
Now this is Palo Santo. Smell it.
Oh my God.
You burn that. It's called the holy wood. Yeah. It's from Peru.
Peru, and I performed in Peru.
Oh yeah?
Oh, wow.
You can take one if you want and burn it. It's just a little bit.
Can I just have it to keep?
Yes, 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 yes.
Because I think that's very special.
And then this is a little room that I see clients in, and I do my work. Isn't that sweet?
Oh, I love what you have done. My work is very serious, but I have more fun on stage. I'm always kidding all the time. Who would have ever dreamt that comedians now going into universities, their material can be censored and edited?
Yeah.
That Second World War, that was not the case, because humor, if you look at the movies of Roosevelt laughing as Bob Hope is next to him, humor is part of our defense. But when we start to erode and censor humor, it's the beginning of the destruction of the democracy.
I agree.
The first sign of the destruction.
Yeah.
And I love this country. But if anyone ever calls me politically correct, kick me in the ass. Do you play the guitar?
I play piano. I'm a pianist.
You play piano?
I like drums.
No, I played.
Are you a musician?
I played with the New London Philharmonic and their Pops Orchestra. Skitch Henderson had the whole second half devoted. Yeah, I played since I was 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
Piano. People who enjoy my piano play usually are deaf or hard of hearing. No.
Let me do something for you here.
Isn't that neat? No. That is unbelievable.
So what do you prefer in your work? Do you prefer to do more performance, or as you mentioned, like helping people discover where things are?
I worked with the FBI. I couldn't be a full-time law enforcement person because the tragedies of some families, especially when young people are involved. A psychologist, and he saw me perform. He brought me back. He says, "Young man, I'm going to give you an office in my quarters." I said, "Dr. Hansen, I just started seeing, I don't have a degree." I reached a point when I wasn't traveling that I saw sometimes 30 patients a week. I spent 45 minutes with each of them. Incredible stories. In one case where I saved him from being murdered in his office, and he said to me later, he says, "You can write about these experiences. You couldn't buy something like that." I had an office. Now I only treated people that he referred to me and explained what needs to be done and what have you.
Yes.
At the end of 8 years, my career got so busy that I was seeing 30 patients on Sunday from 6 in the morning to 4 the next morning because I had to fit them in. That man, I revere his trust in me, and what I learned, you could not have learned in psychology classes.
Wow.
Sociologists are now pointing out that this is the highest percentage they have ever seen in American history. Approximately 30% of young people from their late teens to up to the early 30s contemplate suicide. It's now 30%, the highest number ever recorded. When I was working with psychology, we never thought of things like that. There's a word that psychologists have said to me. It's a word we don't understand anymore, but it's one of the most priceless gifts we have. The ability to feel the way someone else feels is the word empathy. That is a priceless gift. And if you don't have it, seek it. Try to sense the way someone else feels. That's one of the keys to my life. The price we're paying for sitting with a machine, as I say to university audience, you show me somebody who has 200 friends on the internet, and I will show you a very lonely person because they're losing the ability to converse. They no longer know how to do something which 5 years ago, 10 years, you're out someone you're in love with or a friend or a business person, you didn't have a machine there, and when they said something, you'd often sit there and reflect upon what they say. And I'm not a negative person, we've got to change this. One of the best things you could ever do in your life, go into a room by yourself, shut the door, and for 10 minutes, just think. 10 minutes, just think. Because for a lot of people, that seems like hours. We're not doing that anymore. We're not reflecting upon a person I just was interviewed by and has 2 pets, a dog and a cat. And no, I'm kidding.
That would be me.
But with her, I would need about an hour to think. I'm only joking. I'm joking.
Hey.
I love to hear you laugh. Laughter is such a healing force. I've written 20 books now. You can get this, you can go on the internet. This is called Kreskin's Fun Way to Mind Expansion, and it's not a cure-all or anything, but because of my experiences, I try to share some of the advice that I can give out and so forth, and talk about how when you're at a table or with a group of people, you might learn some things by just listening to how people talk and what they like to talk about. I read a great deal. I read 4 books a night when I'm home.
Oh my goodness.
And Howard Stern had a big scene about it. I don't skim read, I read every word.
How do you do that, though? How's that?
Well, we were taught in school to read out loud. That's where we started reading. What we were taught to as we went on there is, well, don't speak anymore, just read. But we're hearing in our head the time it takes to say sentences and so forth. But let me give you a tip. When you look at the word Mississippi, you don't look at the letter M and go to I. You see it all at once.
Right.
I see a sentence and a paragraph almost all at once. I see all the words, they go together, and I have a passion for reading because as I advise business people, I know you look at the internet and you look at all the stuff you need, you can find it there. The people I've done seminars with have changed the rules. And I said, you've changed the rules, but you've just stolen what was learned at Fox Television, what's learned at NBC. Go into the news department. There's piles of newspapers there. With all the internet, why the newspapers? Because when you look at the internet, you look at what you're interested in. When you turn the page of a newspaper, you see a story you never thought of before.
Right.
And it wakens you.
Yes.
So I read 4 newspapers a day.
Wow.
And I'm not bragging.
That's a good tip. That's really a
everywhere
good
I go, they say, everywhere I go, the businesses say, we're making that a rule now, but have one newspaper.
Yeah.
Because it will change, you'll see
learn
things you never
yes,
thought about.
Yes.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get so serious, but I love my work.
No, I'm glad to. So
by the way, I dare not, I like her personality. She's a very warm, and I love to hear her chuckle. But folks, I dare not read her thoughts on the air. I'm only self-critical.
I was going to say, don't you do that.
And I like to hear you laugh because laughter, even in the darkest times, has a healing force about it. Look at the books.
Yeah. Do you know this guy, Masaru Emoto, who studies water crystals? Oh my gosh.
Really?
It's fascinating. His whole work, his whole life is dedicated to the miracle of water. He puts thought and, you have to, you know what, I'll give you this book if you want.
I don't want to take it from you. I shouldn't take it. I'll
He puts thought and intention on a word and puts a word over a water crystal, and then he photographs the water crystal. Go to the pictures page.
Maybe I borrow it and send it back
to you.
Look
here. Look at this. Dislike. That's what a water molecule looks like with the energy and tension of dislike. And this is happiness. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my God,
You're going to love this book.
I'll read it tonight. My best research is done meditating, and I meditate when I'm running.
Yeah.
I will not have earphones in my ear because I need to do something. I need to hear what my unconscious has to say.
Right.
I need to listen to it.
Yes.
And we're not doing that as much.
No, we're not. Some of us are.
Yeah,
I'm a proponent for it too.
I know you are.
People ask, how do I manage the stress and all the things that I do? And I say, anytime that I'm not asked, or something's not asked of me, I need quiet.
That's right.
I need stillness. I need to just be with my thoughts, with the open space, and let things, that's where things come alive.
I have to say that I'm in the spirit of broadcasting, because I can feel this within you. Let's not say goodbye. Let's just say to be continued.
To be continued. I love that. Thank you for watching. Can I get a hug?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.